All right, guys. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Just wanted to give a quick update on this week. Obviously, it's a full week for us, starting with tomorrow's game against Central Michigan. Good team, beat South Florida this year. Last year, won at Michigan. This year's won at South Florida. Got a little bit of a different team this year than what they had last year, but obviously two great wins for them. Believe they had about a week off to prepare here. So big thing for us is to we need to get back, get our feet under us here a little bit from Florida, get some good work in yesterday. We need to have a good practice today, and be ready to go tomorrow night.
Looking back on this weekend, I think the win against Alabama was particularly impressive just because you kind of outpaced an offense that is still number one in scoring and number one in efficiency. Just what stood out to you about the performance of the team as a whole, but particularly the backcourt with Bruce and Roddy?
Yeah, no, I thought I liked their aggressiveness. I thought their aggressiveness was great. I thought we really shared the ball for the most part. I thought after, just a little bit of a rocky start there with some unforced turnovers, I thought our guys settled in. Bruce making that three helped us. But I just loved the aggressiveness of those guys. And, having a guy like Dale out there, I've mentioned this, to be able to pull Bruce off the ball and provide another ball handler against their pressure was critical in that game. And, his impact was significant, and that went along with, obviously, those two guys.
And then, Evan was someone who handled the ball for you guys down the stretch, too, in some press breaks. Has that always been a role you've envisioned for him, or is that something he's shown you recently? Yeah,
it's kind of who he is right now. He's a good athlete. He's a good ball handling wing, however you want to, whatever label you want to put on players nowadays, wing forward. He's ball handling's his strength. I think he can even get better at it right now. I think he's fourth on our team in assists. I think he can even get a little bit better in that. Still plays a little bit too much upright, but yeah, he's going to handle the ball for us for sure.
And then last one for me, we were talking to Bruce and Roddy just a moment ago, and they described this team as childish off the court, like kind of, I guess, lighthearted and fun.
That's good to know.
I guess, how have you seen that expressed in them, and then maybe how has that sort of chemistry and ability to have fun together bled into the court?
Well, I think you definitely see our youth. People will say they see it on the court. They see it's definitely real off the court too. Yeah, we've got a bunch of young guys. Whatever metric you look at, either way, we're one of the youngest teams in the country. So you naturally are just gonna, guys are gonna they're a little bit different when they're young in their college careers, and you certainly see some of that. Yeah.
I think you were saying you're kind of waiting for Jamison to take that next step in terms of taking maybe a little bit more control scoring-wise. We saw that against Santa Clara, 18 shot attempts. Was that what you were looking for at this point in the season? Yeah,
I thought he had good aggressiveness, had a good look in his eye, had a good wasn't pressing, but was aggressive, was appropriately aggressive. That's what he's got to continue to be, and we're challenging him in some of these other areas that he's got to continue to grow into. But he's a really gifted shooter and scorer, and I think he's getting a better and better feel for what we expect.
The guys were talking about, the improvement defensively down in Florida. They mentioned the defensive rebounding. I know Felix is a big part of that coming on lately. What stuck out to you defensively? Do you feel like this is kind of a turning point for you guys, or can be?
Not a big enough sample size yet to make any kind of statements on that yet. I think we're a work in progress on both ends, but certainly on that end, we have a significant amount to prove in terms of, are we a substantive team on the defensive end, and that remains to be seen. Some good steps, some good moments, some good segments of play for sure.
When Bruce and Roddy are playing the way that they've started this season, it seems like it's maybe as explosive of a backcourt potentially as you've had almost maybe since you've been here. When you have guys that can play like that together, how does that change like what a season can look like, or how you can, structure things as an offense and as a defense, I suppose, when you have two guys like that playing the way they've started to show some capability?
Well, I think it opens up a lot of stuff. And what you can't minimize is the fact that those guys both, when they're playing, can be solid to plus defenders as well. I think that's, Roddy, when he's playing well, has the ability to impact the ball defensively with his size and his length and his physicality. Bruce has to continue to do that, but Bruce he's also got to be able to rebound. He's done a better job of that on the defensive end. So it's not just about what they bring on the offensive end. They do have the ability to be dynamic at that end, but, we recruited those guys to be complete players, and we're hoping that that's what they're growing into, because that's what we envisioned when we recruited them. So that just gives you, flexibility and the opportunity to be a better team and more complete team.
How different does that feel this early in the season, but just being able to rely on them maybe the way that you have compared to some of the backcourts you've had where it's felt like, maybe it was Keita or, somebody else that wasn't necessarily handling the ball. When you have guys that are handling the ball, they can do as much as they can. Yeah,
no, it's critical. I mean, I think it's critical to be able to guard play is so critical. It's so critical in our game. And you look at, even on opening night against, a good Oakland team, Bruce hits a big three when we're, it's just a 1-point game. So, it's good to see those guys grow in confidence, but they've got to keep doing it.
Chris, you haven't been shy about wanting these guys to shoot threes. We talked about it last year, too. Now they're going in. Is that something that could be a strength of this team? Did we see the capability of this team from the outside?
Yeah, I thought when we struggled shooting early, I thought it was maybe not indicative of the kind of shooting team we had. I thought we had a better shooting team than how we performed. We shot it really well the last couple games. I'm not sure, if that's necessarily where we're at either. We got some guys shooting high percentages. Now the reality is we're getting some pretty good looks in both those games. I do think, Dale, Scotty, Bruce, Roddy, obviously Jamison, there's other guys too that I think have the ability to be a relatively high volume 3-point shooting group, and we need to do that. We need to continue to be that. We need to continue to take good ones, and we need to continue to stay away from mid-range or long twos and be choosy about turning those into three opportunities.
The amount of buckets that are being made off of assists this year, it's so much better. Some of the threes goes with that, too.
Yeah.
How have you seen that? Is it the chemistry, ball movement, the backcourt, like Adam was asking about, all of the above? How have you been able to get the ball moving like that?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and something I want to maybe, once we get into more games, take a deeper dive into right now and take a look at, Whitney, because I think I do think guard play has an impact. I do think the fact that we've got I think a pretty unselfish group right now offensively is a really good thing. Will we continue to play that way is a really good thing. I think a little bit more familiarity with guys that have played together. But I'll be interested to see, how many of our buckets come off of assists as we continue to move forward, and then how does that compare to some recent years. I'll be interested to see.
I got a couple of Big Ten questions. Have you had a chance to, when you're at home, just dial in on a couple of the other teams here and there? And I know you're playing, Minnesota and Penn State this month, so you've probably had a little bit more about them, but just any overall thoughts about, what's been good? Purdue's obviously winning the Maui is pretty impressive for the Big Ten.
Yeah. Just a little bit, Steve. I think our league had a really good last week and a half. Maybe the first week or two wasn't great, but I think our league the last week and a half had a really good week and a half. I think we're either the second or the third best in terms of metrics league in the country right now. I think that'll probably continue to be the case, but Purdue's obviously off to a great start, but there's a lot of other good. Nebraska's off to a great start. You got some teams that I've seen play, including Minnesota and Penn State just a little bit, and those guys have both had some impressive wins. So I've been able to catch some teams, but probably not every, definitely not every team. But I think Wisconsin had a very good week last week, if I can recall. So our league had a pretty good week last week and a half after, maybe not the best opening week, but a good last week and a half. So it's good.
Talking to the commissioner at the Big Ten basketball, he wanted to get the football scheduling situation squared away, which it seems like they did. Are you guys having any kind of group discussions behind the scenes about scheduling format and tournament format and any kind of an update? What would you like to see, and when will that all come down, you think?
Yeah, I think we have had.
Can you tell us today?
Yeah, we've talked about the 22 versus 20 game league schedule. That's been a conversation, Steve. The number of teams that are going to qualify for the Big Ten tournament, what that'll look like, will everybody qualify? Those are all things that are just conversations right now, and things they're trying to get our feedback in. But to be honest with you, the league doesn't bother us a whole lot during the season, which I appreciate on those kind of things. I don't know how much coaches have an appetite for that kind of stuff, but we did before the season vote on some of those things and have conversations and kind of voted privately on whether we wanted 22 or 20, and but there's been no decisions made on it.
You have a preference, 20 or 22?
Well, I think when you talk about league games right now, I think you kind of have to open your mind to what that's going to look like. And when you say, hey, you're going to play 22 league games and 2 of them are going to be, UCLA and USC, well, is it really 20? It is league games, but it seems so outside the mind. So I wouldn't be surprised. I won't necessarily say my preference right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's not where it heads sooner rather than later.
Were you interested to see how your guys would practice on Monday? You've talked a lot about how they've prepared for things, but coming off of winning a trophy and then having a day off,
yeah.
Were you curious about that?
I was curious about that as anything, and I think we had some good things, and I think we looked a little bit fatigued, but we pressed through, and we've got to have a good one today. We need to have a good one today and continue to prepare for this team. But absolutely, that's always something you're looking at as a coach, is kind of what's their approach heading into a full week.
And you have a former player on the broadcast tomorrow, in Joey Lane.
Yeah.
I just wonder what you think about that and what that might be like.
No, I'm really happy for Joey. And he's got a career, but this is something he's developed in terms of a broadcasting career. I think he's really good at it. He's got a really good feel for college basketball. He's passionate about it. So guys that have, I think, a really good feel for the game, that are passionate about our game, that he knows the Big Ten exceptionally well. I think those are really good things. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for the Big Ten that, they've added him to their crew.
Do you watch the broadcast, or is it just all game film? I don't know if you'll actually hear when you break down the film.
Yeah, I might watch that one tomorrow. I don't watch a ton of them. My dad, God bless him, I love him, but, a broadcaster could say something that to me doesn't seem as critical, and he'll text me and like, why would he say that? Well, it's just, so sometimes you can watch those things and, you can get overly sensitive. Not that he loves me. He's a protective dad. About our team. Why would they say whatever? So I think the reality is usually it's just mute and we're cutting it up and no volume. But maybe I'll listen to Joey a little bit. We good? All right, guys.